So before I launch in, I've really enjoyed today. So normally when I come along to these culture sessions, I kind of switch off and start working. But I actually learned something, which is pretty cool. And no, it was a really good event so far. So I'm responsible for our product and marketing teams at Transferwise. That's what growth means. But as I'm fond of telling everyone that joins, kind of growth is everyone's responsibility, and especially in the way that we grow, every single one of the people working at Transferwise can impact growth.
So can you give us some idea of what you've achieved? So what stats can you throw at us for the growth in the last 2.5 years?
Yeah, sure. So let's meet more the team. So last month, the way I normally talk about this is kind of talk about numbers and scale, and then explain a little bit about how that kind of happened. And the magic is inevitably ends up talking about culture a little bit as well. But numbers-wise, last month we processed $1 billion in transfer volume. About three and a bit years ago, when I joined, we were doing about £100,000 a month. I think to date we've kind of doubled in size every 6 months or so, which is kind of cool. But the really cool bit is 80% of the customers that used us for the very first time last month found out about us from a friend. Again, 3 years ago, it was 80% of our customers found out about us from marketing. Internally, we think of ourselves as a mission-driven startup. Our role in the world is to try to make money move around the world instantly at the touch of a button for almost nothing. And our customers see that authenticity as well and talk about that too. So we think about the business as a catalyst for this change in the world. There's many things we do that don't drive direct commercial gain, but more achieve that mission. But the magic, just come back to culture. The magic wasn't figuring out that stuff. The magic was figuring out how we were to go from 60 people to 660 people in 3 years, all caring about the same thing, all heading in the same direction, whether they're working out of Tokyo, Sydney, Tampa, New York, Budapest, Tallinn, Ukraine, London. I think that's all. Yeah, Singapore is all. Yeah, so our offices. That was definitely the hard bit.
How is that embedded into the company? Is it just accepted, or is it up on the walls? Is it are there events around it? How do you promote and push?
Yeah, so it's a good question. So we tried very hard not to talk about culture, me especially, and I struggle with not talking about it.
Why?
The challenge if you talk about it is you make it too important. So the thing we have to keep reminding ourselves is the most important thing is achieving our mission. Making money move around the world at the touch of a button for almost nothing. Culture, my own personal definition, is how we optimize the organization to get there as quickly as possible. And if we start creating weird artifacts like, this is how we do things here. So I talked through, this is how we do things here just now, but if we should be running in a more autocratic way, for example, in part of the organization, and that makes us more effective in achieving the mission, that should be like the ultimate decider as to how we should operate, not some kind of like archaic set of rules that we locked ourselves in a room and decided. That seems like pretty inefficient.
And the business has 8 values. Thank you. I couldn't remember them, so I wrote them down. But this is actually my question: is it important to know the values, or is it because values in some cases, people use acronyms, and it's important to remember them and understand what the associated behaviours are. But with 8, it's quite, and Zappos with 10, it's quite a handful to remember or to associate with them. How do you promote that, or is that not something that the team does?
That's a good question. So I learned most about values in one of these sessions actually, and I was interviewing Ian Hogarth, the founder of Songkick, and asked him about his values, and he said the thing about startups and values is they all think they've discovered something absolutely amazing. And when you kind of listen to their values, it's just common sense. or sometimes even worse, they just describe the personality of the founder. We are passionate. We go through walls. It's like, all right, it's like, okay, that's not like, how does that work? How does that scale? It's not particularly helpful. Let me just talk about the process by which we came to our values. So we wrote them down for the first time, I think only 4 years in. And we're very lucky to have a copywriter as one of our first employees. And all he did was write down how we were already behaving. And that's all that happened there. And then he just shared that with the team, took a bit of feedback, and we ran with that. The team do use it in most of the ways that you talk through, from hiring to onboarding to reviews, etc. And they use it as a way to settle arguments and disputes across the team as well, practically. So that does all happen. I just called out a couple of the important ones. So I think the most important one is customers are more important than the team, are more important than your ego. That one makes it really hard to hire marketing people, found historically. And the other one was we ran for a long time with the value of no assholes. And then we launched in the US and we had to find another way of saying that.
What did you say?
No drama.
So 1 + 1 is always 2.
Yes, that's one of our brand values, transparency.
Okay. And this isn't a job, it's a revolution.
Yeah. So
Is that not a little wanky?
It is, and that's one I don't talk about too much. But we do, it is important. So a lot of the
revolution.
Let me respond to this. So a lot of the things that you'd find in a typical company that would make normal people happy don't exist, right? So career paths, they don't exist. I'm the only guy with a ridiculous title, and I find it frankly embarrassing internally. Most of my peers are called things like product managers, right? And so titles generally don't exist. Title inflation doesn't happen. You turn up to work because you want to make money move around the world instantly at the touch of the button and solve this big problem in the world. If you turn up to work for anything else, you're just not going to be happy. And hence those kinds of people join and then leave or don't join at all. And we've been moderately puritanical on that. Hence, that value, yeah, I agree, it sounds a bit wanky, but it does help as you scale, stopping fluff starting to get created within the org that slows you down.
The culture which you don't talk about. The word culture. Is there somebody in the organisation who's the mother or father of it, or is it just exists?
It just exists, yeah. Kind of like as the panel said earlier, something I found quite profound was anyone can change it. So not just the CEO can change it. So culture is the sum of every single person in the organisation and all the decisions they make every day. So the cool thing is that anyone can change it. So apparently I single-handedly introduced a drinking culture into Transferwise, which I'm quite proud of. And then people joined and they were like, oh my God, we've got a drinking culture. I don't feel like so good about that. So we have people that do yoga and don't drink as well, right? Which is cool. So I think that's super powerful if people can feel accepted for who they are and feel they can create that environment around them. Yeah. But no one's responsible.
Culture today, and not very much about the why. For me, it always starts with the why. So I was interested in if that's how your culture was naturally shaped, with that at the start.
Yeah. So as I said, so the number one thing is mission is most important, and that kind of answers most questions. A good question is how do we end up with this kind of slightly anarchic culture without founders making every single decision? When I joined, the teams were already working that way. It just wasn't explicit, so it wasn't written down, and they weren't using it to scale. So the two reasons why we operate this way is kind of personal to both of our founders. So with Tarbet, I like to say he's fundamentally lazy. Okay, so he kind of believes in hiring smart people to do work for him, much smarter than he is, and can do it much better than he can. And therefore, you kind of end up with some of the things I've talked about. And with Christo, it's got this awesome line, which is, the product we build is an outcome of the people we hire and the decisions they choose to take. And the most I can do is try to influence the culture, their basis for making decisions. So it's not like a founder who had a vision from God and God said, create money transfer. And he had it all worked out in his head. It's like very clear he absolutely doesn't have it worked out in his head. And he's hoping these 600 people are going to solve it and are going to care about solving it. And all he can do is try and figure out how do you get them to care and how do you get them to care about the right things. So working in leadership has meant what are the things, so you spend less of your time thinking about roadmaps and making decisions, like I haven't made a decision on product, I think, ever. And more around what is the basis people in the organization use for making decisions about product. Are they focused on revenue? Are they scared about what our investors think? Or are they figuring out how to scale this to as many possible people as possible in the world and solve this problem? And the only thing holding them back is their confidence. And how do you fix that?
Well, thank you very much. We've overrun dramatically, which is good. I would like to say thanks to the team from SVP for having us and putting this on. It's been really great. Thank you to Ollie for his amazing emceeing, and thank you to the panel, and everybody, thank you very much for coming. And